Hello, everybody. This is a presentation about teacher assessed grades and the process for both Year 11 and 13 between now and the summer. What we wanted to do, although we don't have all the information yet, is to just give you the key headlines, the important information that you need to know at this stage, and the important information that we do have at this stage. So I started with the picture of the screen because I do know, having spoken to a lot of Year 11s, and I know that a lot of Year 13s have been talking in tutorials this week, that they are feeling a little bit like this picture. And I fully understand that, as I'm sure your parents and carers do as well. And I do hope that you're going to listen to this presentation together so that you are both in a situation, or everyone in the family is in a situation where you're able to understand what's happening and talk in a little bit more detail about it. So you really have had a difficult 2 years during your GCSE and A-level or other vocational courses, and we do understand that. And it's not over yet. You know, some of you will have been very disappointed that exams have been taken away because you performed very well under exam conditions. Some of you might be a little bit more relieved, but I think what's really frustrating for all of you is that there hasn't been a clear pathway given to us by Ofqual or by the DfE. And so even as schools, we've been quite confused actually, and we've had lots of late information about how this process is going to run. We were hoping that before the end of term, we would be given the significant information that we need in order to guide us and you through the next few months. But that information isn't with us yet. And so we felt it was important before the mock started, really to put them in the bigger picture and to hopefully help you feel a little bit more confident and less worried about the journey ahead. So the process has been called teacher assessed grade. So when you hear the word tag being used, that's what's being referred to. And these are what are in process for Year 11 and 13, and also some AS levels as well for Year 12 pupils. So what I'm hoping to do in the next 10 minutes or so is explain the background of what we do know, understand, help you to understand how this mock series fits in and how important they are. Understand how other possible assessment fits in, discuss possible further assessment, provide some kind of timeline for you, and to help you to understand the importance of each piece of work and your attitude to learning between now and the summer. So this is sort of it in a nutshell. There are no exams this year at all, no formal exams, and pupils will be assessed on a range of evidence chosen by teachers in school. And what the DfE have said is to recognise the disruption that this cohort has experienced, teachers will only assess what has been taught. And teachers have got a lot of flexibility, therefore, to use a wide range of evidence from across the duration of each course, such as coursework, mock exams, class or homework assessments, and exam board questions. And I'll talk to you a little bit more about what that means later. So one of the reasons that they've done this is because obviously GCSE and A-level cohorts in different parts of the country have experienced different disruption to schools. So it's not possible to say that every single Year 11 in the country or every single Year 13 has been taught the same parts of the syllabus. So that's why they've given teachers that flexibility. So in summary, in a normal year, obviously every student in the country would sit a history GCSE or a maths A level on a set day to ensure that there's no cheating and that answers and questions can't be shared. They would be taken under exam conditions in an exam hall. Nobody, not the teachers, not anybody, knows what the content is, and that could come from anywhere across the whole syllabus taught over that 2-year period. And they are marked by external markers and they are moderated outside of the school. So the day that those results come through is as much of a surprise to the school as it is to the students. This year, things are different. So the grade is going to be achieved through a range of evidence. It can be collected at any time during the course, although it might not be obviously a very sensible thing to use evidence that was produced at the beginning of Year 10 or the beginning of Year 12, where pupils were very early in developing the skills needed. These can be produced in normal lessons, so not under exam conditions, and if necessary, at home, only on the content that pupils have been taught, and they're actually marked by the teachers in the school. So very, very different processes this year. So how do you have confidence that if the teachers are marking the exams, that they are going to be as robust as if it's done externally? So what I will say to you is that non-examined assessments, sometimes called coursework or controlled assessments, have been used for many years. And in some courses, they're actually sort of 40–50% of the exam. And teachers are really, really skilled in assessing these non-examined assessments and pupil work. Many teachers in our school are actually examiners for the exam boards anyway. So again, they're very, very skilled. There are members of each department that absolutely know, how to mark very properly, carefully, and ensuring that there isn't bias. Teachers in our school have always moderated work with each other across the department to make sure that everybody's accurate and there's equality across classes. And we've also done this with other schools. We normally work with schools in Waltham Forest, although we sometimes use other local boroughs. But this year, Waltham Forest are coordinating this to make sure that every single department in every school has another school that does the same exam board as them that they can use to moderate work. And that's been something that's been organised centrally. And eventually all the grades have to be signed off by the head of centre, which is me, and there will be a very, very rigorous process for doing this. We will be asking, along with Mr. Byer and Ms. Argyrakis and the exams team, we will be having meetings with every head of department and ensuring that they can clearly provide the evidence that they have moderated that work fairly, that there is evidence of moderating that with other schools. So I have absolute confidence in the teachers in the school being able to mark that work fairly and assess that work fairly. We're also going to train every teacher in the school in unconscious bias to make sure that we're really aware of some of the issues around that and to ensure that we are very, very equitable in the way that we're doing this. So outside of that, what quality assurance will there be by the centres and the exam boards? So on the left, the centre, so as I've said, I'm the head of the centre. We will obviously have to follow exam board policies, and we will have to send our policies to the exam boards, and they will sign them off to ensure that we are following proper procedures. And at the end of the process, I have to sign to say that all those requirements were met and that I am confident that the grades submitted are accurate and that the teachers who graded pupils had access to necessary support. And part of the inset day on Monday of this week was going through that process and making sure departments were fully confident and that all the teachers, however new they were to the profession, have the support that they need within the department and across the borough to make sure that those grades are accurate. As well as that, there will be some quality assurance by the exam board, and they will make checks and they may do virtual visits, mostly to look at policy, so to check that actually what we've said we're doing is in place in a policy and those processes are clear and robust. They will do some sample checks of evidence. They haven't really said how they're going to do that, but they'll certainly be doing random samples, and they'll also be looking at schools or colleges where there are more risks, where perhaps there have been difficulties in the past or schools haven't got strong Ofsted grades. We are not in that position. All our checks previously have been extremely robust, so it's very unlikely that they would come to this school. If any issues are identified, the school and college is asked to investigate initially, and any changes to a pupil's grade can only be made if there is evidence of that performance or if there is a result of human intervention at the centre or the exam board. We are waiting for more information about that, but it's very unlikely that unless there are problems with the centre, changes will be made to a pupil's grade and the centre grade will be signed off. So this is actually a slide from Ofqual. I was at a meeting with Ofqual and they are in charge of qualifications across the country. And I'm not going to go through all of this, but essentially they have said that this evidence will be coming to us by the end of March. So obviously we were hoping that we'd have that before the mock so we could share that with you. I'm hoping that won't come out on the last day of term, but we are waiting for more guidance, and that will include guidance on key dates, more advice on grading, access arrangements, private candidates, and so on and so forth. So as soon as we get that information, we will be releasing that to you and explaining what that information is. So this is one of the slides taken straight from the Ofqual presentation, and you can just see there a little bit of a timeline. So March and early April, teachers should be really thinking about and talking to pupils about the evidence that they're planning to use to make those grades. And these mock exams that are coming up are part of the evidence that will be used. And as we've explained to you before, we've asked teachers to make sure that these mock exams are based around parts of the course where they don't have so much evidence. So parts of the course that have been taught, but actually there hasn't perhaps been so much assessment done in class or previous challenge weeks. So it's really about finding evidence in areas where they don't have it. So it's not a full set of exams. Around about April, pupils will continue in lessons as homework to complete questions, either from the exam boards, and I'll talk to you again about that in more detail, or questions from previous papers or questions that teachers have set. And obviously pupils to continue to complete any coursework set. By May to early June, obviously pupils will have assessments given back to them. They'll have the results of their mock papers, but that won't be their final grade because, as I've said, that's part of a range of evidence that will help us to make those final decisions. What is a key date there is the 18th of June, and that is the deadline for the grade submission to the exam boards, and all those grades have to be submitted by that date. Then really the school can do no more until the results days in August. And you can see at the top there, the school will check for errors. So if you do think there's a mistake with the result, the school will be the first port of call and they will check for errors. And then if a mistake has been made, we would work with that pupil to submit an appeal. Although last year's systems were different, there were very, very few appeals. I'm really confident that because of the processes we had in school, we worked very hard to get those grades as accurately as I could do. And then obviously it says at the bottom there that if there is an appeal submitted, then the outcome should be received before the start date at university or college. Predominantly that applies to year 13 pupils. So again, you can read this in your own time, but this is Ofqual's chief regulator. And basically they're just confirming that it's teachers' judgments that's being used. An assessment can't make up for lost learning, but the aim is to make it no harder overall for this year's students to receive a particular grade than students in other years. And they're just talking about how confident that they are to ensure that students' grades reflect what they've achieved. I don't think there is a perfect solution to this. I do think that this is much better than last year. And, you know, I commit to you as the head of this school that I will do everything that I can to ensure that we do this robustly and that students have every opportunity to get the grade that they deserve and are capable of. So, what you've probably read in the media, one of the things that they did say that they were going to do was that they were going to release papers. The exam boards were going to release papers, and they did a consultation about this, asking how teachers would like to use them. And what we thought they would do was possibly release these on a particular day, so that if schools really felt that they wanted to do a more formal exam, to use as part of the evidence, not something to be marked by outside, that they would have the opportunity to do that. What the government have decided is that they are going to publish these papers online for anybody to access after the Easter holidays. And this has actually prompted a lot of anxiety that this could really benefit more privileged students. So, you know, in some schools, or those people with private tutors, for example, might just go through every single question over and over again, and then perhaps they'd sit those tests in school, and then they would have evidence to show, you know, perhaps higher grades because of the practice that they've done. And there's lots of stuff in the media about this benefiting those who are privileged. If you wanted to design a system that benefits those who already have advantages, you'd start by cancelling exams and showing candidates the assessments that they will take. At the moment, we have not made a decision about whether or not we will use any of these. We might use some of them in class, but again, the danger is that some pupils will already have seen them and practiced them. So at the moment, like many other schools, we're very, very wary about using these in any format. And it might be that we actually, you know, find other ways of doing that. That might mean using questions from previous papers, but again, pupils have access to those, or it might mean developing our own questions based on other questions. So they're similar, but for example, in maths, they're not using the same figures. But again, until we have more guidance in that, I'm not making any decisions about it at this stage. So the other thing you do need to know is that also there's a current consultation going on about an exam series. So if pupils feel that actually they would have done better in an exam because exams work for them, there is currently a consultation going on, which would mean that pupils could retake in autumn. A-levels would be in October and GCSEs in November and December, and pupils would then have an opportunity to take the exam, and the higher of those two grades could be used in further pathways. Obviously, that's a little bit tricky for university applications or for applications to other sixth forms. And I don't actually predict many pupils doing that. I'm not sure that if I was in your situation, I would be particularly keen about spending my summer holidays revising for another exam series when I'd want to get stuck in to my Year 12 course or to my university course or apprenticeship. Last year, although the system was different, to give you an example, at A-level, only 2 pupils in the school chose to take exams after the centre assessed grades last year, and one of those pupils didn't turn up and one got the same grade. So I don't anticipate lots of pupils doing that, but I wanted you to know that that opportunity was there. So our mocks that start this Monday, why are we doing them? So just to remind everybody, so we're absolutely clear, it is part of the evidence that teachers are putting together in order to make those final teacher assessed grades. And what we said to teachers is that you need to choose parts of the papers or the topics where you've got the least current evidence. So perhaps they're ones that were taught over lockdown or taught at the end of the summer. So really it's a case of not only helping future teaching between now and the summer half-term break, but really to help teachers to understand where pupils are. It also helps us with our range of evidence because actually some pupils do perform better in exam conditions. So perhaps for some of those pupils who haven't performed as well as they should do in classroom or homework opportunities, there's an opportunity for them to show what they're capable of in a situation that benefits them. And also, it's really important that not everything is class assessment, because what could happen, for example, at A-level is that you've got all 3 subjects, or possibly 4 in some cases, setting long essays in order to get that evidence all coming at once. And actually, that could lead to burnout, unrealistic workload and deadlines. So to have that exam series that people have known about, as I say, adds to and helps with that overall evidence and picture. Other evidence that will be used after the Easter holidays, obviously will be decided by teachers once we've got that further information from Ofqual. But records of marks and grades from before Easter will be submitted. Teachers don't actually have to have evidence of that work. They're going to be trusted in terms of having those records of marks and grades. But schools have been advised that any piece of work that's produced next term, so after the Easter holidays, whether it's homework, classwork, or a further set of mocks, depending on how we do things, must be there as evidence. So as the head of centre, I will expect to see that evidence from Easter onwards when I am signing grades off. But most teachers have kept work anyway, so there is already plenty of evidence, but we have to make sure that that is kept. So it's really important that any piece of work that you produce in homework or classwork during that first half of the summer term is absolutely done to the best of your ability, because I guarantee you that will be part of the evidence used that I will be looking at. And if anybody did come and do a sample of the centre, that would be looked at too. So in summary, working out your grade, graded by teacher judgment, not by an algorithm or calculation. And school and college assessments can continue. We've got choice about how we do those. And obviously this first set of mocks, we'll review them, see how they went, and then decide whether or not there will be another set. And I'll talk to you about dates for that later. Evidence, mocks, tests and work already done. Non-exam assessment should continue. So for example, that might be a scripted drama performance, it might be a music performance, and those could be used as evidence even if they're incomplete. And then finally, results and appeals. The results day, AS and A level, 10th of August, GCSE, 12th of August. And then obviously you can appeal, but I don't imagine there will be large appeals. And that's our challenge as a school, is to make sure that we do that accurately and robustly and make sure that everybody has equal chances. So the final slide, key dates. So mock exam 1 starts on Monday. Marking and moderation will then take place by the teachers after that. And as I've explained, that will be done with other schools as well as internally. And then lessons and assessments from the beginning of the summer term right up until the 28th of May, which is the day that we believe that year 11s and 13s will leave formal school. So absolute focus is necessary. Hopefully there won't be any more time off school and no need to self-isolate for students. We haven't had, positive cases at all in year 11 or 13. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we won't have more time off school. So attendance, absolutely compulsory. Homework completed, best engagement in lessons. We may have some further assessments on the 17th of May. Again, we're waiting for further information. At this stage, some departments feel they want them, some not so sure. We'll give you information about that as soon as we can. If we do them, they won't be there as an inconvenience to you. They will be there because we really feel that we need that evidence to give you the best chances. If we do them, they may be week beginning the 17th of May. After that last day of school, this is sort of 2 weeks after half term, until the tags have to be submitted on the 18th of June. And we might need, individuals to come into school. Perhaps we don't have enough evidence for a piece, and we need, so at least we've got that 2 weeks to do that follow up. And those are the 2 weeks where I'll be meeting with every head of department, with Ms Argyrakis and Mr Byer, to make sure that evidence is robust. And then results on the 10th of August, A and AS level. GCSE results on the 12th of August, and we'll do our sixth form enrolment immediately after that, to make sure that at that point we know if pupils will be staying on in our sixth form, and also supporting pupils that are going elsewhere, so then you can have a good relaxing break at the end of the holidays and hopefully be back to normal with really healthy attitudes, hoping for no more disruption in September 2021. In terms of unis, apprenticeships, again, we'll give you information as we get it. We're not entirely clear about how that will work at this stage. So don't panic. Please don't panic about the mocks. You do your absolute best. They are not the only piece of evidence used, but actually the journey from those mock exams right up until the 28th of May is crucial. Whatever's happened during lockdown, we have got a real opportunity now to focus, to show what you're capable of. Parents really need you on board, making sure that your children have got the right equipment, they've got the right environment at home to work, and also that you talk to us if you've got any worries or concerns. We can help, we will help. Any questions, please email me. You know my email address, ehillman@heathcote.waltham.sch.uk. The very, very best of luck with the mocks next week. And as soon as we get further information, I hope that doesn't come out on the last day of holidays, we will send that to you to make sure that you're fully up to date. If anybody would like any, one-to-one sessions or Zoom meetings in order to be able to ask questions, let us know. We're 100% there for you. We know that your pupils have had a tough couple of years, and we will do everything we can to make the next few months as easy as possible for them, but ensuring that they work as hard as they can and reach their full potential. Thanks for being there. Thanks for all your support. Have a great weekend. And as I say, the very best of luck with the mocks next week.